Yeah, guys. So, yeah, I'm still on the ISS. I asked for help. They sent me my cat, which was really not that helpful. I could have done with some food or something. Look, maybe if you share the stream and like specifically with NASA, and in the comments say please send FTFE help. He needs help. Importantly, share the stream.
We're living on a disk, floating through space, with a tiny
No, we're not.
sun.
Hey, I'm FTFE and welcome back to the channel that does to stupidity what the UK CMA did to Microsoft's hopes of acquiring Activision Blizzard and getting Call of Duty and Overwatch on Game Pass. Look, I keep telling you, I am a nerd. You shouldn't be surprised at these things. So first off, I would like to apologise for last night. I must have switched my brain off because I forgot to change the date on that stream for Wednesday, because me and Garrett, or Gene, whatever wants to be called, agreed that's the day we'd continue after my internet died previously. So I'd set the stream up for yesterday. I was supposed to change it, forgot to change the time, decided to have an early night last night, woke up to about 800 messages going, "Are you dead? Please don't be dead." Alright, so just to confirm, I am not dead. They did not replace me with another clone. Thank you for the concern. I really do appreciate it. So tonight we are talking to Flatzoid, Gridzoid, whatever we want to call him. And here he is. Flatzoid, hello, welcome, how you doing?
Hey, you still muted, right?
Oh yeah, I need to unmute myself. There we go, too many buttons.
There we go.
How you doing, mate?
Hi, good, and yourself?
Not
Nice
too
that
bad.
you've, invited me.
Thank you. Yeah, there's a lot of things that have kind of been brushed on in the few conversations we've had recently regarding gravity, so I wanted to specifically talk about gravity today. And I did find it quite interesting when I suggested that to you. Your response was, "Well, there is no gravity on the flat Earth." There we go.
Yeah, it's simple. Now we can go home, guys.
Yeah, there we go, guys. Stream's done. There is no gravity. End of discussion. Before we get into it, how you doing? Everything all right over there in South Africa?
Yeah, doing as good as we can. Power's off
Yeah.
more than on, but what can we say?
Oh, I honestly, with my teenage son, I don't know how I would deal with that. Like, I'd have to talk to him and stuff.
Well, he would enjoy that.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Now, I do not want to strawman you. That's the most important thing here. I don't want that to be part of the conversation, that I'm strawmanning your position. I know that you don't think that gravity exists at all, and that it doesn't, flat Earth doesn't need it. So could you just kind of give me your overarching view of your opinion on gravity and how it's dealt with in the flat Earth?
I don't understand, on the flat Earth.
Yeah. Like
dealt with
what is your replacement for it? You know, the things that we say as Globers that gravity does. What is the I know, because there's a lot of different disagreement in the Flat Earth, especially between you and Witsit. And by the way, that was a great stream.
Well, I must say he did come on the next time and actually apologize, and we had a nice conversation. So I was happy about that. Although I still don't agree with him on his deduction about electrostatics, but
So like Witsit, we do say that there is kind of a downward bias and everything, you know, but obviously that isn't your view. So like I said, I don't want to straw man you in any way. So could you just explain to me, you know, in your own words, why things accelerate the way they do? What is your replacement for what we call gravity?
Okay, I just got to clarify. There's no replacement because gravity doesn't exist. Secondly, what we observe based on flat Earth is what I think is relative density disequilibrium. So there's no downward bias or anything. It's simply just got to do with the object's ratio to the medium. That's about it. So if the object's density ratio is greater than the medium's, it's going to seek equilibrium, which would be at the foundational point, which is obviously where it's got to support something, which would be down. And if it's less, then the medium is able to support it, which would mean it will go up. Okay,
so again, I don't want to straw man, you know, and I know that when my side says to you, and you know, the way that you guys think in particular, that density isn't a force, you're not saying density in particular. Your claim is this relative density disequilibrium, right?
Yeah, you see, a lot of time we get strawmans, like you say, is you guys push specific gravity to us. That's your relative density with buoyancy.
I mean, it's very similar in the explanations that are given, but you know, again, I don't want to straw man you because I know that's not exactly your point. So because according to the globe, relative density, which is specific gravity, it's only scalar. Yeah, that is the way that we would describe it, as, you know, a way to give a vector, you know, an amount, if you will. Yeah. And okay, so I don't want to go on to the globe yet. I'm just trying to steelman your position so that I know exactly what I'm arguing against. Because after watching that stream of you and Witsit, so much of that was the pair of you saying to each other, that's a straw man, that's a straw man, that's a straw man. So I don't want that to be part of this discussion. So yeah. I really do want to try and steelman your position here. So you call it relative density disequilibrium, but the controlling factor in everything you say is the density of an object, right? So essentially, if the density of something is more than the medium it's in, it's going to go down. The ratio. So the density. What do you mean by the ratio? Of an object, if you can add, it's like this cup. It's got a density, correct? Now it's in a system on my hand on a scale, for instance. Now if I had to add another cup next to it, I got two cups of the same density. The density hasn't changed, but you've added more substance in the system. So therefore the ratio has changed. Get it? So it's causing more pressure on the medium. So therefore the pressure ratio towards the medium is denser. It's greater. Right, so what you just described there, you would be increasing the mass of something but not the density, and it would change its direction. You're not increasing the mass. The mass is the same. Well, what you said there was you said if you've got two cups, both of the cups are the same density, but you're doubling the mass by adding another cup, but the density stays the same, right? I'm not doubling the mass. If you have two cups, that's double the mass to one cup, right? No, remember, what is mass? Well, mass is the amount of matter in something that is in SI units measured in grams. Yeah, so one cup has amount of mass, which gives its density. Yeah. And then you've got another cup with the same. Now, just because the two cups have the same density, right? Yeah, now I put two cups of the same,
density. I haven't increased the mass. I haven't increased the density.
Well,
I've simply created a greater ratio, pressure to ratio, according to on the system.
Okay, I just want to clarify though. But if you double the cups, you are doubling the mass. That is what you're doing. 1 cup is X amount of mass. 2 cups is 2X amount of mass.
On your glass model, yeah.
What? No, just
Not,
in if you've got 2 amounts of something, that's twice the amount. So we both agree that the cup has a density, but that cup also has a mass, right?
Yeah, but that's why I say you have to define what mass is, though.
Well, mass is the amount of matter in something that is measured in SI units of grams. So let's say
Exactly.
that cup.
So if you got
let's
one
say
cup,
that the
that
cup
is
that. Yeah. Okay. So 1 cup measures, say, 25 grams, right? And has a density of whatever it has. So another cup that has the same density as that first cup, together that's now 50 grams of cup, not just 25.
But,
so you've
yeah,
doubled
but
the
you're
mass.
trying to false equivocate mass to give weight. Which
No,
is
no,
not
I'm
correct.
not talking about weight at this point. I'm literally just talking about the amount of stuff in something, all right? So if you've got 1 cup, I've got this cup here with my juice in, and if I had another cup with juice in, that would be double the amount of that thing. So double the amount of mass. If I weighed this, it would weigh X amount of grams,
No,
and if I had 2 of them, it would weigh twice that amount of grams, right? I just want to make sure that we're talking on the same level.
No, it's still got the same amount of mass. Remember,
No, it doesn't.
one
There's
cup
2 cups.
has its set mass. Now, if I put another cup there, it's also got its own set mass.
Yeah, so you
haven't
add them
added
together
mass.
now, right? Well, you did. You've added the other cup, so you've now got 2 cups. That's twice the amount of mass, so twice the amount of pressure, which is what you said about the ratio. Okay, you said it's the ratio of the density to the medium that it's in, but it's not just the ratio of the density; it's the amount of things of the density, which is what we call mass. Again, I'm just trying to steelman you here.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Because you going on the thinking of now your guy's gravity of mass, weight. That's what I'm saying. It's
Well,
not.
we'll get to that later.
Yeah, but I'm
Again,
saying, but I'm saying that's why you don't understand, because that's your line of thinking. You got to see it this way. The mass is exactly the same. The density is exactly the same. You just added more on the system, more pressure on the system.
By doing what?
By adding another cup.
Which adds more mass to the system. Can we agree that that system now has twice the amount of mass in than before if you add another cup exactly the same?
If you have to say the system as a whole, yeah.
Right, okay, so it's doubled the mass to increase the pressure in your, I'm just trying to understand, because if you double something, then you've got twice the amount of it. So you have to be doubling the mass. So I'm just trying to confirm what you say is happening. If because I've got 2 cups of the same density, then they're not going to move. But if I have, let's say I had a glass tank of water, right, a medium, just 1 density, and then I had 7 blocks of concrete of all the same density, and in this tank I had a seesaw, right? So I put 5 of these blocks on one side of the seesaw and 2 of the blocks on the other side of the seesaw. All of those blocks have the same density, but the blocks on the left side of the seesaw with 5 has a combined mass of a ratio of 5 to 2. So there's more mass, which is what's making it go down. Which is what I think you said to me. It's the fact that there's more of it is making it go down, right?
On the system.
Yeah, so there's more on the system. So in my case, the system would be the seesaw, right?
You're just taking more physicality and putting it in place on the system.
Yeah, by adding extra mass to the system.
Yeah.
Because that's physically what's happening.
It depends what you claim as mass, though.
I thought we've mass is simply the amount of stuff that there is, and then the density is how compact that stuff is in a certain area. So that's it.
I can go with that.
That's, you know, we don't need to get, there's a lot more, you know, we can go down to the quantum level what mass is, but on a basic level, mass is the amount of stuff, density is how compact that stuff is in an area. So,
Okay.
So, for your relative density disequilibrium, the thing to make it accelerate, say, downwards is what? What would change, say something's in its equilibrium, what would then change that to make it go down or up?
I don't understand what you mean if it's in equilibrium. Nothing's ever in equilibrium though.
I mean, it's close as it can be. Yeah, there's always going to be variations. But if, you know, like if you have a density tower and you drop an acorn in it, it's going to sit around, you know, 3 layers down on the honey or something, right? What would you have to do to that thing to make it go down further through the density tower?
I don't know the density. You just have to change the medium, or you would have to change the density of the object. Because it's the ratio relationship between the two.
So
that's
changing the density would make something move more, right?
That's why when I explain, if you take a, let's say a tennis ball, and you just pick it up and you drop it in air, the ratio compared to the air cannot support it. So it's got a greater pressure ratio than the air, so it sinks. Now, if you do the same and you drop it into water, it's going to fall through the air, and as soon as it hits the water, it starts floating because the pressure of the water, the medium, has a greater pressure ratio, so therefore it can support the ball. Now, if you take the medium away totally and do it in a vacuum, it's going to sink. Why? Because there's nothing to support it. It's seeking equilibrium, which is the foundational support medium.
Okay, right. So let's focus on what you said there about the vacuum, right? So let's assume we've got a vacuum chamber 20 meters high, and at the top of that we put a feather, right? Why does it go down? What's, you know, why is the equilibrium it's trying to seek downwards? Because there's, you know, the same density of the walls and the ceiling, everything all around it. How does that feather know that down is a denser medium?
No, it doesn't know it's a denser medium. It's not intelligent. It cannot support it. The medium ratio is what supports it. It's all got to do with pressure.
Yeah, I'm with you. But why down in particular? Why if we could, you know, that feather appears in that vacuum chamber, what makes it decide that it's going, you know, I'm not saying the feather's got intelligence, you know, but where is the, you know, the thing that's making that feather go a particular direction rather than another? Because we can agree in a vacuum chamber the medium is equal all around it, and the walls of the vacuum chamber and the ceiling and the floor are going to be equal density. So what's making that feather go to the floor of the vacuum chamber rather than another direction?
Easy, because you build a foundation of a building ground level. You picked that feather up, so you picked it up, correct? So you put energy into the system. So you literally had to pick it up.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Yeah. The feather's got kinetic energy. Let's agree with that. 100% on board that, you know, a feather will have kinetic energy, you know, potential energy before it's released, and then kinetic energy as it's moving. So once, you know, that potential energy is converted into kinetic energy, what decides the vector? What decides which direction it's going to go? You know. There's the support of what?
The medium cannot support it.
Yeah,
so
okay, I'm with you there, but there's equal everything around it. There's no support below it, there's no support above it, there's no support to the side. So why in particular does it choose that one direction?
Because I picked the feather up from the ground. The air cannot support it. Now, if you're taking the air already that cannot support it away, there's even less to be able to support it.
Why is it going to the ground?
Carry on going up?
What,
why would you expect it to go up?
Because there's nothing deciding which way it moves. There's no reason it would go down in particular. It has energy. We both agree that there is energy in that feather. Before it's released, it's potential energy. As it's released, it's kinetic energy. All right, but how does that energy know to go towards the floor? Even
Because
if
the
even
air
if
cannot
that's where it
support
came, yeah, no, okay, I'm with you. But even if the energy knows that that's where it came from, the floor, what is making that energy go towards the floor rather than another direction? I know there's no support under it, but there's no support any other way. There's no way the feather, can tell what's going on. It's not alive, so there's no way the feather knows what's below it or above it. So the feather appears at the top of the vacuum chamber. Why is it going down?
Very simple. You picking it up, you putting energy into the system. So when you let it go, would you expect it to carry on getting energy into the system? Or would you expect it to transfer that energy?
I would expect the energy to be transferred, but there's no determining factor as to which direction that energy would be transferred in.
Yes, it is.
Why?
You picked it up. You picked it up.
Yeah, but I haven't decided where that energy's going. I don't get to decide which direction that energy is then dispersed in. That's not how the transfer of energy works.
That's exactly how it works with potential energy. If you've picked it up, it's got a potential. Yeah, it's got a potential to go to equilibrium.
But how does it know where equilibrium is? There's no determining factor in a massive vacuum chamber. Energy doesn't have a direction. The energy that I have, even if I agree with the assumption of I've picked it up and given it energy, that's why it's moving, there's no way that I can then decide that energy goes towards the floor. So I'm just trying to figure out why exactly there is the feather will go down rather than any other direction. I honestly can't understand it in your paradigm why that would be the case. There is no support underneath it or above it or any other direction, but there's also nothing intelligent happening to make that feather go down, and energy doesn't have an intrinsic direction. Kinetic energy can be dispersed in any direction.
Okay, let's say you push a ball.
Mm-hmm.
You've pushed it in a vector, correct?
Yeah.
Is it going to end up stopping?
Once the kinetic energy has been converted into another kind of energy, yeah.
But is it still going to carry on going in that same vector after it's used up all the energy?
Not if the kinetic energy has been converted into another form of energy, no.
Great. So when I pick up a feather, I let it go, the energy is then converted. It's transferred.
But I'm not pushing it in like with the ball, I pushed it in a direction, right? So I gave it that vector, but I'm not giving that feather a vector. I'm just letting it go. I'm not pushing it in any direction.
Yeah, but you've picked up the feather. That's what you don't get. So you've picked it up.
But,
you've
yeah,
added
that doesn't
energy
matter.
into the system. When you let it go,
energy doesn't
wouldn't
have an
expect
intrinsic direction, though.
You
Can we both agree?
You wouldn't expect it to carry on going up when you let it go. You literally had to pick it up to go into that vector.
There's no vector. That's the thing. Because the not if I'm just holding it there. If I've picked up something, if I've got this lighter and I've just picked it up in my hand, it has no vector right now. There is no vector in that feather. Yeah, but right now, as I'm holding it, there is no vector. Right now, all this lighter has is some potential energy, right? But that's potential energy, and when I let it go, right, there it converts into kinetic energy and it accelerates down. But energy doesn't have an intrinsic direction, right? There's no you can't say to the energy, right, you're going to make it go down just because that's where you picked it up from. That doesn't matter in the slightest. The energy doesn't know to go back to where it came from. Energy will just go whichever direction the forces are making it go. So what is the force that's making something decide to accelerate in a certain direction in your paradigm?
Again, you had to pick it up. If you didn't need to pick it up, then you would have an argument. But the simple fact is you needed to pick it up and take it out of its equilibrium.
Yeah,
so
I'm totally on board.
Out of this equilibrium, and it seeks equilibrium based on you picking it up. So once you let it
does
go,
it know to? Why does it know to seek
energy?
Right. Okay. Right. Let's focus on that.
Back. it has to transfer that energy back to its equilibrium point.
Let's
It would
focus
not
on
be
what you
up,
said there.
because that would be meaning it needs more energy. It cannot create
Why?
more
Yeah,
energy.
but okay, let's
just
focus on
because
what
you
you
let
said
it go.
there. You said that it will go back to its equilibrium point from where you picked it up. How does it know where that equilibrium point is? If there's nothing to give it an indication that there's an equilibrium in any direction. The feather in the middle of the vacuum chamber doesn't know that the equilibrium point that it came from is below it. There's no way that's not something that is transferred to the feather. So how does the feather know where its equilibrium point it was picked up from is? That's what I'm asking. Why is it deciding that direction?
Again, you picked it up.
Yeah, okay. I'm with that, but we're past me picking it up, and
was-
we're at the point
was
of
the
letting it go,
ground-
right?
Was the ground supporting the feather?
Was when
When the feather's on the ground, was the ground supporting it?
the ground could support the feather 100%, yes.
Great. So when I picked it up from the ground supporting it and I let it go, is the air able to support it?
No, it's in a vacuum chamber. There's no air resistance. But that doesn't
Great.
explain why it goes back
Great. So-
down to the floor. How does the feather know that it came from the floor to go back there?
The air cannot support it.
The air can't support it above it. But the air
that-
can't support it above it. The medium is exactly the
Craig,
same
you're
all
starting to
around it.
frustrate me, man. I've explained this to you.
Yeah, but you haven't
put
answered the
energy
question.
into-
What is?
you
But it doesn't.
put- you
right,
put-
can we agree
can
with
you
one
stop
fact,
talking
right?
over me?
Yeah, but
You
we
put
need to agree on
energy
one
into
fact
the
first.
system. You put energy into the system. Okay?
Yeah.
It cannot carry on putting more energy into the system when you let it go. That is
Okay, that doesn't make
totally
that
goes
doesn't make
against
sense. Sorry,
physics.
I agree with what you're saying. Well, I don't agree, but I'm just working within your paradigm that I gave that feather its energy, but there's no way energy doesn't have a direction it will automatically go. Just because I picked that feather up from the floor and took it up, that doesn't mean that that energy is going to go back down to the floor. There's no reason that would happen. There's nothing
where's
in
it supposed
physics
to go
that
then? Where's it supposed to go then?
wherever well, matter just reacts to forces. And in
No,
this
where's it
case,
supposed- you said it's
well,
not
that's
supposed to go
my
down.
that's
Then
my
where's it
case.
supposed
Like
to go?
how any other direction, there's no reason why it wouldn't go another direction because there's
Wow.
nothing supporting it above or below or to the side.
Okay.
So there has to be an intrinsic direction for something to go for it to
Okay.
go down, and that
Let's
will
take
take
an
me on to
elastic
the
band
next
then,
point.
Craig. What happens when you stretch your elastic band? Does it try to go back to its shape?
Yeah, because it's connected.
Yeah.
A feather isn't
Does it-
connected to the floor.
Does it seek its equilibrium?
No, elastic band does not seek its equilibrium. That's not how it works.
Yes, it does, because its
No, you're
shape,
just talking about
coherent shape is
tensile
its
strength and
equilibrium.
stuff.
Once
That's
you
not
stretch
what
it out of
equilibrium
its
means.
equilibrium, it's going to release that energy and get back to its
But
equilibrium.
a
point.
feather is not like every part of that elastic band is connected to itself with materials that have certain values that allow it to stretch. The feather does not have any connection to the ground. There is nothing that is pulling it together. They are two completely separate things. There is no connection between the feather and the ground. There is nothing that has pulled it apart. There is no intrinsic direction for energy to go, right? So we can move away from the vacuum chamber and talk about a density tower, right? Because a density tower
Craig,
is a really
let me-
good thing to talk about in this circumstance, right?
This is the most simplest thing to understand. You went and picked the feather up.
Doesn't
That
matter if
was
I
the
gave it,
ground
did it?
supporting it. You put energy into it when you picked it up.
Uh-huh. So why does the energy go down?
Which direction did you pick the feather up from?
Down? I picked it up from the floor and took it up.
Okay, great. And the ground was supporting the feather.
At
now I
that
put
point, yeah.
energy, potential energy into this feather. Now
Yeah.
when I let it go,
Uh-huh.
It
Now
has no-
it's now got kinetic energy, and kinetic energy doesn't have an intrinsic direction. So why does that kinetic energy go down?
again,
Kinetic energy
I
would
had to
disperse in all
induce-
directions.
Listen, I induced energy upwards.
That doesn't matter that you induced it. That it doesn't decide the
Craig,
direction something goes.
Can I talk, please? I induced the energy upwards.
I agree with that, yes. Well, I don't. But,
so when you let go, why would you expect it still to induce more energy once you've let go?
Because energy, acceleration requires a force being applied over time, which is what the kinetic energy will be converted to. But there's no intrinsic direction. There's no reason that it would go down. Rather than up.
Yes, there's a good reason down.
If it goes down,
because
it's because wait. Let me finish. If it goes down, it's because there's something acting on it to make it go down, rather than any other direction. Me picking it up isn't the reason something goes down. That's not how energy transfer works. All of physics currently disagrees with you.
No, physics actually agrees with me when it comes to...
No, 100% not. As an engineer, I'm telling you it does not, because that's not how kinetic energy transfer works.
Okay, so when you pick up something and you put potential energy, you're telling me it's not going to have kinetic energy downwards?
I'm saying that there is no reason why the kinetic energy would go downwards. I'm agreeing that there will be a transfer. I'm agreeing there would be a potential transfer from potential to kinetic energy, but there is no reason that downwards is that direction.
Yes, there's a good reason, because it has to use that energy that you implanted into the system.
But the energy doesn't know which way to go. The energy doesn't know where it came from.
Okay, let's put it this way.
Energy is not sentient, is it? Does energy have an intelligence? Simple question. Does energy have an intelligence to know where it came from?
Okay, Greg, let's put it this way. If you had to, let's say, pick the ball up a meter high, it has potential energy to where?
If I had to, potential energy to where isn't a sentence that makes any sense.
Potential energy has a vector to it. So
no, it does not. Potential energy does not have a vector to it. Potential energy, potential energy is just energy stored within an object that can be converted to another form of energy. Potential energy does not have a vector, a direction. So,
okay, so let's place it this way. If I'm holding a ball up a meter off the ground, it has potential energy. How do you work this potential energy out to get an acceleration?
You would actually need to use gravity to calculate a potential energy.
If it has not... Oh, so now it has got a direction. So that's
because you would need gravity to calculate the, if you want to calculate the potential energy, and potential energy is a thing that exists within the globe paradigm, you would need to use gravity to actually calculate the potential energy in a particular object. So, I mean, that if you want, you asked me how do you calculate it, you calculate it using gravity, which is what gives something a vector in our paradigm.
And what if I told you we can take that same acceleration base and just call it unicorn farts and get the exact same
You can call it what you want, but it's still, gravity is going to be gravity, whatever you call it. It doesn't matter.
The problem is you guys don't have gravity to be able to have that. Now you can call it gravity all you want for potential energy. It doesn't make gravity real. Now, what is it? What is giving that potential energy a direction then? I told you the density to ratio of the medium.
But but in a vacuum chamber, there's no ratio that goes downwards.
The object is forcing itself through the medium.
How? What's causing that force?
The object is causing a pressure on the medium. It's pressing on the medium.
Which direction is it pressing?
The supporting direction.
When there's nothing supporting and there's equal medium all around it, how does it know that down is where the support would be needed?
When you build a building, where's the foundation built, Craig?
At the bottom, but a feather in a vacuum chamber isn't sentient. It doesn't know that the foundation's at the bottom.
So we can say, based on natural observation...
Are you saying that energy is sentient? Is this what you're... I want to steelman you here. Are you saying energy is sentient?
I'm trying to finish my statement. So we can say, based on natural observation, foundations are always at the bottom. All support is always at the bottom.
Not necessarily, but carry on.
Really? Okay, show me support of something that's at the top, or the left, or the right, please.
Yeah, so the submarine escape training tank in Gosport, where I did my submarine training, has hatches all along as you go down the tower. It's like a 100-meter tower of water, and as you go down, there's hatches that go up, and the support structures for the towers actually use a buoyant force pushing up with a structure support at the top to hold the hatch up. So the structure, the actual support of that structure is above it, not below it.
That container structure is built in the submarine?
Well, I'm not talking about that container structure. I'm talking about the particular structure holding up that hatch, which has its foundation at the top and not the bottom.
No, that's not the foundation just because
the foundation of that hatch exists at the top, not the bottom.
That's not the foundation.
Oh, it's absolutely the foundation.
No, it's not.
Well, no, it's the foundation. The structure that supports that hatch as it's being held open is at the top.
Okay,
and
let's
it's got
put it
force
this way,
against it upwards with buoyant force.
Let's take a bottle then, Craig, and it's filled with air, and you put it down in the bottom of the water. Is it the lid that's supporting the bottle, or is it the bottle itself that's supporting the bottle?
No, the water's supporting the bottle.
Ah, so it's the medium then. And where's the medium?
The medium's around it. Just like the medium.
Which direction is the bottle
just like
going, Craig?
Just like the medium of water that the submarine escape training tank is in, with the foundational support of the hatch at the top of the hatch and not the bottom. But this is irrelevant. It's just an engineering quirk that we use the buoyant force to calculate, but it's irrelevant to the conversation. So it's a bit of a side. My fault for the sidebar there. Let's go back to what we were talking about.
This is exactly part of the thing. So, which direction does the bottle go then in the water?
Which direction does where is the bottle to start with?
Inside. We just placed full air inside submerged in the water. Which way is the bottle going?
What's in the bottle?
Just air.
Just air in the bottle. Well, the buoyant force would force it upwards normally, yeah.
Great. So then the water's supporting it, correct? It will be floating on top of the water.
Yeah. So the water creates a buoyant force pushing up, right? Yeah.
Support foundation is
for that bottle. When it's up above, it's the water is what it's sitting on. But that's. My point was in engineering a foundation.
So we observe then all
my
the
point
support,
was
all the
like
foundations
Flatzoid.
for everything is at bottom. When you build a building, the support, the foundation is at the bottom.
Not always. In engineering, the foundation can be at any point.
When you pick something up, you have to support it, or it will go where? Seek equilibrium. But
how does anything know that equilibrium is any particular direction when it's in a vacuum chamber? That's the question. That why does it go down rather than any other direction, right? But then I wanted to move on to a density tower, right? So
wait, before we do move on to the density tower, it's simple. In air, if it cannot support it, why would you expect it to support it when you've taken the medium away? You've taken something that can support it little bit.
Why would I expect it to? Well, I would expect it to because gravity is a thing.
No.
Because there is an acceleration acting on it, creating a force. That's why I would say it happens.
Sorry. We're not even talking about gravity right now because, yeah.
Well, you asked me why would it happen, and that's why I would say it would happen. In your paradigm, I can't think of a reason it would happen.
Look, if you have a medium that it has pressure. The air has pressure all around. It's bouncing totally around it. Up and down against that object, but it hasn't got enough pressure to support it. If you take that medium away now, that little bit of pressure that could support it can't do its job. You've taken it away. Why would you expect it now to be able to support it?
I'm not saying it would be able to support it, right? But if we're talking about it, so if we're talking about it being in a medium like the air, for instance, okay, we drop that feather in the air. It's going to go down, but slowly, obviously, because of air resistance, right? But we know in the air, there's a gradient of pressure. So the more dense medium, is down. There's going to be denser medium, until it reaches the bit where it's no longer a denser medium. But in a vacuum chamber, there's no gradient. There's no way that feather is going to know, down is towards the bit that is what is supporting me, right? Which is why I want to go on to a density tower, because that's the next important part of this conversation, right?
Okay, how would you have a density gradient in a vacuum?
Well, you don't. That's my point. There is no gradient in a vacuum. So in the vacuum, there's a gradient outside of the vacuum.
You know
so
why?
the feather has a reference.
Right, hold on. Vacuum?
Yeah. No, that's kind of not the point here. Outside of a vacuum, the feather has a reference as to where the denser medium is because it's in a gradient. In a vacuum, there is no gradient, so the feather doesn't know which way is there more dense medium below me? Is there more dense medium above me? For that feather, the denser medium, the equilibrium, is at every single point around it. So there has to be a reason for it to go in a particular direction. There has to be an acceleration happening in one particular direction, which takes us, very importantly, to the density tower. Okay?
Okay.
Why does a density tower exist?
Again, a feather's not sentient. It has got no intelligence.
No, exactly, it's not sentient. So there has to be something making it happen.
So okay, I think I'm going to try and draw it on paint for you. I'm going to share my screen.
No. Right. Let's go to the density tower because this is the important bit, right?
We will get there. I first got to get you to understand why.
You're never going to make me understand because it makes no sense within your paradigm, right?
No.
So
it makes perfect sense.
It makes absolutely zero sense, right? I've tried my hardest to steel man you, but it makes no sense according to physics, which is why I want to move to the density tower. And there's a simple question about the density tower. Why does this density tower arrange itself in a particular direction?
Okay, I see you've disabled the screen, share screen.
Oh no, I haven't even turned it on. Sorry.
Sure. I just want to see if I can draw it for you. It might make it more sense for you.
The thing is, I understand what you're saying, Flatzoid. You don't need to draw it. I get what you're saying. It just makes no sense.
Oh, it makes a lot of sense.
Drawing it isn't going to make any difference because it's still not going to make physical sense.
Oh yeah, it will. Because it's even going to help you understand why density towers
I can picture what you're saying. I do not need you to draw it for me. I know what you're saying. There's just no physical sense or reason behind what you're saying, which is why I want to move to the density tower because it's the next important part of the conversation. So what causes a density tower?
The densities, the ratios, exactly the same argument.
So why does the density tower arrange itself with heavier stuff at the bottom and lighter stuff, less dense stuff at the top? What is making that arrangement? And
the ratios.
There's a follow-up question. The ratios.
Yeah.
Do you want to extrapolate on that?
Remember, I told you that you got a density to pressure ratio.
Yeah, I don't know if you understood what that meant.
If the object has a higher pressure ratio than the surrounding medium, like this ball, which I picked up from the ground. Oh, sorry. I don't want to save. There we go. Okay. It has a direction to it. The direction
again, Flatzoid, I get what you're saying. I really do. It just doesn't make sense. There's no physics behind what you're saying.
Okay, I'm going to try. Look what I'm saying. I've picked it up from the ground.
Yeah. You said that 100%.
It was on the ground. It was on the ground at its equilibrium point. On the ground there. I picked it up. Now I caused it to have potential energy to seek equilibrium. Okay? Because it was at its equilibrium point. Now, the gas around it is hitting it from every direction. Up, down, left, right, center. It doesn't matter.
Well, no, there will be more gas hitting it from below than above because there's a density gradient in the air, right?
Not actually, but okay.
Well, no, there is. So, it's measurable.
It cannot support it. Okay.
Well, no, but we agree that there's more below than above, right?
Well, what about Archimedes' principle when you got a ship? You got some water underneath.
Yeah,
in
okay,
this-
but
in this
you know, I
sea.
just want to agree on the point that there's more
Okay.
gas hitting it below than above because there's more density below than above because of the gradient, right? That's a fact,
That-
right?
Very minimal, but that doesn't matter because the support
I
is
mean,
back at its equilibrium point. This is the equilibrium point.
How
Now,
does it know?
when you've picked up the ball, you would agree you've placed energy into the system of this ball.
There is now potential energy in the ball.
Okay, great. Now, as soon as I let it go, okay, why would you expect it to gain more energy to go up?
I'm not saying it would gain more energy. I'm just saying there's no reason it would go a particular direction.
I'm telling
Energy,
you, it
energy
won't go
doesn't.
a particular direction
Why
because it has
does
to
it need
use-
more energy to
listen,
go
because
up? Why
because it has-
why does it? Right. Here's the question then. Why do you need energy to pick something up?
Well, last time I
Why does
checked,
it not
there's a
take
thing
energy
called
to move it a
entropy.
different way?
You have to transfer energy to do something. Remember, it cannot be created or
Yeah,
destroyed.
but why
only transformed or
why is up
transferred.
the why
So
is
that's
up
me-
the
that's
direction
me-
that is
That's
required?
me picking up the ball, transferring energy to the ball.
But energy doesn't know which way to go. Energy has no intrinsic direction.
Again, Craig, this is literal children's things to understand. I
Yeah, no,
picked it
children
up
would
from the
disagree with you
ground.
because when
It
you
was
teach
at
it, science
equilibrium.
teachers would
Craig,
teach a different
Craig,
thing to what you're
Craig,
saying.
Craig, listen a bit, mate. It
I've
was
heard
at
what
the
you're saying. It
ground
just
at
doesn't make
equilibrium.
sense. Yeah, I've heard what you're saying, Flatzoid. It just doesn't make any sense. That's what I'm
Pick it
saying.
up.
It just there's. I get what you're saying. It just doesn't make sense.
And I've picked it up from the ground. I was holding it
Yeah.
with my hand. I could support it by holding it up. As
Uh-huh.
soon as I let it go, there's nothing to support it because the air is not able to support it. So it has to use that energy. Now,
But there's
if
less
you
air
say,
above it.
Oh, why does it? What if you're saying why is it not going up by using that energy? Then
Energy
that
isn't a
goes
vector,
against
though.
what
Energy isn't a
is.
vector. Energy doesn't have an intrinsic
listen.
direction. You're
Listen,
going against
it
what energy
needs
is
to
because
s-
energy
it
doesn't have a
has-
direction.
It has
Is
to
that
seek
is energy a
its-
scalar? Yes or no?
It has to seek its equilibrium. Where
Nothing
was
to
its
do with energy.
equilibrium, Craig?
That
Where
doesn't
was
matter.
it?
It doesn't know where its equilibrium is. Why does it have to seek its equilibrium? Why is it doing that? Why does it know? Oh, I have to go and seek my equilibrium. What's making it do that?
If you can stop talking, I can maybe get it through to you. You picked it up out of equilibrium, which was
Doesn't
on the
matter.
foundation. It matters.
Doesn't matter
which is
because
at the
energy is a
foundation,
scalar, not a
which is at the
vector.
foundation. The ground was supporting it.
Yeah, but
When
energy
I'm
doesn't know
holding it in
which way
my
to go
hand,
because
yeah,
energy is a scalar.
I am supporting it. So when I let it go, the air is now supposed to support
Supporting it from
but
what?
It cannot. Shh. It cannot. So
Supporting it from what though?
happens?
Why is it trying to go
It
down?
goes because the air cannot support it.
But there's
It
air
has
above it, below. There's
foundational-
air above it, below it, left to the right. So why is it choosing to not be supported specifically by the air below it?
Because the pressure is greater by the object than the air around it.
Yeah, but the
ball
pressure is going to be even
forcing-
less the other way, though. So it doesn't go what you're
The ball is
saying.
forcing itself through the air.
How?
it's
So
seeking
there's a force
equilibrium.
involved. What's the force?
So it's the object forces itself.
Objects aren't force objects.
It's
That's
forcing-
not what a force is.
Object-
Force is
Oh,
mass
so you're
times
saying-
acceleration.
Craig, can I say more than 2 words, please? That ball is causing a pressure. It's forcing itself
Why?
on the medium.
Why?
It's got a greater pressure than the
How?
medium.
What's
so
creating the
medium
pressure?
cannot support the ball.
What's pressure?
Because
Pressure is force over
it's
area,
out of-
right?
Yes.
Yep. So what's the force over the area?
The gas is hitting the ball in every direction. That's a pressure. But the ball
Yeah.
having a greater...
So where's the force
Pressure.
coming from?
Can you please let me talk, mate, please?
Well,
Okay.
I need you to
Let-
actually do the whole sentence, though. And if you're talking about
I'm
pressure, you
tr-
need to talk about where the force comes from, because pressure is force over area.
Craig, this is getting ridiculous, man. I'm trying very hard to be nice here, but You're talking too much. The
Come on,
thing
man. I'm
is,
just
as
asking
soon-
very simple questions.
and I'm trying to explain something to you that my 5-year-old understands.
No 5-year-old understands this because this isn't what 5-year-olds are taught.
Oh, so no 5-year-old knows if you pick up a ball, it's going to drop to the ground again.
They wouldn't say it was because it's not being supported. They would probably understand that there's a force involved. At least
Remember in the
when my kid was
beginning,
a
you said
5-year-old,
you
they
don't
would
want to
have.
straw man me. This
Yeah,
is exactly
I'm
what you're
really
doing.
trying
You're
not to straw
pushing-
man you.
You're pushing your gravity belief.
Oh, no,
onto the
I
explain
haven't
to
said
relative
gravity. I'm
density.
just saying there's a force involved.
Yes. And the nice thing is gravity doesn't have a force, so you can't actually
Gravity
push it
creates a
onto
force. We all know that.
No. Gravity
Yeah.
is no force. It has
Gravity
no
creates
force.
a force
It
because
can't
gravity
create
is an
a force.
acceleration on mass,
No,
which is a force.
But we're still going to get into that. I'm trying to
Yeah.
explain to you relative density disequilibrium quickly, like you asked. So if
Yeah,
you
yes,
stop
so this
talking
is why I
over
wanted
me
to get to
and
the,
trying to
the
push
density
and
tower.
trying to push your gravity nonsense onto it.
I
we
haven't
can
tried to
actually
push
take
anything
that
at
away.
all. I'm just trying to understand because my degree in physics makes me understand that where forces are involved and what requires a force and acceleration and everything. So I'm just using my knowledge of physics that I spent years and years and years gathering and proving that is correct with my engineering skills to try and understand the things that you are saying. But specifically the things that you are saying go against known physics. So I'm just trying to understand your point when it doesn't match what physics says. That's all.
Okay, let's test this out. You say it goes against physics, correct?
Absolutely, yeah, because
Okay,
energy
according
doesn't
to
have
physics,
energy's a
according to
scalar.
physics, when I pick up a ball and I let it go in air, what happens?
Depends where you are.
When I pick up a ball and I'm in air and I let it go, what happens?
If I was on the ISS, it would just stay there.
No, I'm sorry, we're not going to Narnia. I'm saying we're on Earth now.
ISS isn't Narnia.
Pick-
Oh, we're
Oh,
talking
yes, it
specifically
violates
about on
natural
Earth.
law.
Okay, so we're talking specifically about on Earth, right?
Observable physics, yes.
Yeah, so specifically on Earth, if I drop a ball, it will go towards the ground.
Okay, so if I'm saying it's going towards the ground, you're telling me that's not what physics says,
But
then you
no,
are lying.
physics explanation for it isn't what your explanation for it is.
Again, that's a straw man. You
No,
want
that's
me
not.
to explain
No, that is
relative
not a
den-
straw man.
Listen,
To say that your
listen.
hold on one sec, please. To say that your position goes against what physics says is not a straw man, in the slightest. No, it's not
Because you said
because
it's-
it's
you
not
said we don't
against. It's
observe
not
this
what
in
physics
reality.
says. No, I didn't. I didn't say that at all. I said
That
the ball on Earth, the ball will go towards the ground. That's the same in both your paradigm and mine. The explanation for it is the important thing because the explanation for it, according to physics, is not what you are saying.
Again, according to physics, we require a force for a mass to accelerate.
100% yes.
Great. So what is happening when the ball is sitting here if it cannot be supported? It would be forcing itself through the medium to seek equilibrium. So in other
Where's that
words,
force coming from?
equals mass times acceleration.
Yeah, okay, so where's the acceleration coming from?
The ball forcing itself through the medium because the medium cannot
No, a
support
force
it.
has to be a force has to be applied over time for an acceleration to happen. That a ball can't release its energy over time. That a ball doesn't have any way to slowly release its own energy to be its own
Okay.
force. That again,
Okay,
what
so
you
when
what
I
you just
picked
said.
it
One
up
sec,
and
one
I'll
sec,
hold it in my
one
hand.
second. Again, what you just said. The way you described the ball releasing its own energy and being its own force is against what physics says, which is why I'm trying to understand.
Again, I'm holding the ball. Okay?
Yes.
I'm supporting it. The air around the ball in my hand cannot support it because it's denser than the air around it. You take a density tower, like you love to say, and say, oh, but the density ratio sorts itself out of density at the lowest point. Yeah? So, in physics, observational physics, we can see the density is always going to go unamuno down.
No,
So that
not at all.
ball is
In
denser
physics,
than the air.
they're not
Listen,
always in physics.
listen,
That's not how it works.
listen.
You just said something that's wrong. In physics, that's not what you
applied a
see.
force I applied a force.
No, you didn't apply a force.
Up.
A force needs to be applied over time. You're not applying that force over time for the acceleration to happen.
Okay, so my hand is just instantaneously. That was, by the way, time. It took me time to get my hand up.
Yeah, but when you let go of the ball, you are no longer touching that ball, and you cannot apply the force over time.
I applied a force to get it up to that point. When I
and
let it go, the energy is now released, and it is having a force as it's forcing itself down.
That's not what a force is. That is not what a force is. A force needs to be applied over time for a mass to accelerate.
Does it take time for that ball to fall to the ground, Craig?
Yeah, but how is that ball releasing that force? Where is that force coming from? A ball cannot be its... hold on. That ball cannot be its own force releasing its own energy over time. That's not, again, what you just said goes against what physics says. So I'm just trying, from my knowledge of physics, my degree in physics, the fact that I tutor people in physics, all of this, I'm just trying to take all the knowledge I have of physics and understand what you're saying, because it goes against everything that physics says. So that's all.
No, it doesn't.
It really does. Physics, all of physics disagrees with you.
According to physics, you require force for mass to accelerate. Therefore,
but physics also says that a force needs to be applied over time, not a force being its own thing. An object cannot apply its own force over time. There has to be a force applied to that object. That object is the mass, not the force.
Would you say pressure is a force?
No, pressure is force over area.
Right. So there's a force over area with this ball and the medium.
Yeah.
Great. And what happens
where's the pressure coming from?
What happens
in a particular direction?
When you force? What happens when you force something on an area? What happens? Is that a force, a pushing force?
You can apply a pressure to a particular area, and that can be calculated as a force. But in your paradigm, what you're saying is that the pressure of the air is making it go down. Is that right? Again, I don't want to straw man you.
No. The object's pressure to ratio is greater than the medium. The medium cannot support it. So the object
the medium's
is
even
forcing
less
itself
above, right?
So the object is forcing itself through the medium to get to its equilibrium point.
An object can't force itself. An object doesn't have the ability to force itself. Objects aren't sentient. They can't do that. There needs to be an overriding force. Where's the pressure coming from? Where's the pressure coming from?
Can pressure cause acceleration?
Pressure is force over area. That can be part of the calculation of what's causing an acceleration.
It can cause an acceleration.
We agree there's a pressure, but why? There's still no particular reason down.
Simple yes or no. Can pressure cause an acceleration, Craig?
A pressure on something can accelerate something, yes, because pressure is force over area. So you apply it to a certain area of that thing, it will apply a force to, compared to the area, and you could calculate the force over the area to the particular point and calculate the acceleration from the forces involved. But none of that gives the reason why down, right? So let's get to the density tower, because this is important.
The ball is applying a pressure
no, a ball can't apply anything.
The ball is applying a pressure onto the medium, correct?
No, a ball can't apply anything. A ball doesn't have anything to apply. There has to be a force applied to the ball for the ball to create a pressure.
So when I drop a ball through the air, it's not accelerating with pressure?
No, it's not accelerating with pressure. It's accelerating because there's a force acting on it.
Pressure
is force over area, not force.
Yeah, it's forcing itself through
nothing
medium,
can force itself. That's not how physics works, right?
That's exactly how physics works, Craig.
Physics disagrees with you. I mean, every single physics professor in the world disagrees with you.
No, they don't. They would say, Craig, things fall down because it has a force attributed to it.
There is a force acting on things. Yeah, we know that, right?
So in a density tower, object,
right? So in a density tower,
the medium is a what again?
Say that again.
So the ball is
The ball?
causing a pressure.
How is the
So
ball
it's
causing
forcing
pressure?
itself.
A
It's
ball can't
forcing
force itself.
It's
There has to be
forcing
something. There has
itself
to be a force
through.
applied to the ball.
It's forcing itself through the
No,
medium,
again,
which is
a,
what?
a ball can't force itself. There has to be a force applied to the ball for it, to be able to move. That's how something would accelerate. All right.
Okay,
So
so balls don't accelerate. So you're saying when we let go observable, when we let go of a ball, we don't see it accelerate.
I didn't say that. You're strawmanning me now, but it accelerates
No,
because there's a force of being applied
because
to it.
you trying to tell me I'm not allowed to use what we see every day in observable reality.
I didn't say that at
because
all.
you don't want.
I didn't say that once.
Yeah, it's exactly what you're saying.
No, I didn't.
We see a ball.
Why are you strawmanning me?
When I let it go, we see a ball. When we let it go, it accelerates due to it forcing
Gravity.
itself through the medium.
Things can't
That
force
means
themselves. A ball doesn't have the ability to force itself.
It
can't apply a force
put the
over
energy
time.
into the system, Craig.
Physics disagrees with
other
that's
wo-
how it works.
I picked the ball
If
up.
we're going to talk about physics, we have to talk about how
I-
physics works, and that's not how physics works.
I picked up the ball.
Yeah, that
which
doesn't
is me
matter.
putting a force into
Yeah,
the system, Craig.
Again, force isn't a vector either. It's a scalar, same as energy.
Your beloved gravity physics or your globe has got nothing to do with relative density disequilibrium. So stop pushing your belief.
I haven't said anything about. I haven't said
force
anything
of
about
gravity.
that. I haven't
That's
said
all you're
anything
doing.
about that. No, I'm not. I am no. I am going with known physics and trying to understand your paradigm. That's all. Don't get angry because I am countering the things that you were saying by saying
haven't
that
countered
physics
anything.
disagree. Or, no, what I'm doing is saying that physics disagree. I'll get to the countering. I'm just trying to understand your position, but you need to understand that what you are saying goes against all of established physics.
Okay, I'm going to say this one more time. According to physics, if I pick up a ball, it will fall back down if it's denser than the medium around it. That is established physics.
No, that's just an observation. That's not established physics. Physics is the explanation behind something, not just an observation.
Great. So, the explanation for physics for relative density disequilibrium is the
Which there is
reason we
none.
see this observable ball forcing itself through the medium.
Yeah, that's my
is 'cause
point.
The medium.
None of
because
your
the
explanations
medium-
match physics.
Listen, because the medium cannot support the ball. So the ball, having its potential energy, is now forcing itself through the medium.
Yeah, force is the vector, I
aka
meant that, sorry.
acceleration.
Yeah, again, that goes against what established physics says. So I'm just trying to understand where you're coming from. But it really does. Established physics says that's not how it works. So this is why I want to get onto the density tower. All right, so we've got a density tower arranged in a certain way, so the more dense stuff at the bottom, the less dense stuff at the top, right? So why can we get rid of that arrangement by dropping it?
Very simple. All the frames are falling at the same rate.
So they're all falling at the same rate. Why does the density tower disappear? Surely, if the same thing is happening to all of them,
Listen,
wait, hold on. Let me finish, please. Right?
You asked me a question.
I haven't finished my question. Right? Let me actually finish my question before you try and answer. Right? So, if the pressure ratio, to the object in the medium is the reason why there's a density tower, that ratio is still going to exist when all of the density tower is moving at the same speed or accelerating at that speed. That ratio never disappears, but the density tower does. Okay. How does the density tower, or the things within the density tower, know that they are now falling?
Let me put this. See if I can make this very simple. This is a cup. Okay.
Simple, definitely.
It's a system. Let's say I've got liquid in here and I've got air. And we got some things just, sitting in a neutral position with the air. Now, remember, this cup is in a system around it. the Earth. When I got everything in this cup and I'm dropping it, it's accelerating. What's accelerating?
Everything.
The air, the liquid, and the object inside it. They're all accelerating at the same accelerative time.
They're all going at the same acceleration. Yeah. We agree with that 100%.
Great. Relative to what, Craig?
But they're accelerating relative to the floor of the Earth.
Relative to the surrounding system, which would be the Earth.
Well, yeah, we could say relative to anything on or in the Earth.
Okay, great. Now let's take that same cup, and it's stationary. It's not accelerating. What's happening with the water, the air, and the object inside that cup? Remember, it's not accelerating relative to the surrounding system now.
When it's not accelerating, it's just sitting there doing nothing. But that doesn't answer my question. My question was if the ratios are all the same.
Remember, what is force? What is F equals ma say?
Force equals mass times acceleration. You need a force to accelerate a mass.
Right. Now,
what difference does that make to the density tower? Why does it disappear?
If the density tower now is sitting at its relative density, relative equilibrium, so it's already sorted itself into its ratios. It's not accelerating anymore. It's now static.
Yeah, but then why does that density tower disappear if the whole thing starts to accelerate?
It doesn't.
At the same time.
As soon as you let it go, it stays in its static position.
No, as soon as you let it go, and it starts accelerating down, the density tower disappears.
No, it stays the same.
No, it doesn't. That's the point. When a density tower is in free fall, the density tower is no longer there.
Whatever you left it at that point, if you shake it and you throw it down, obviously it's going to be mumbled up.
No. You don't need to shake it. As soon as you let it go, the density
to accelerate at the same rate around with the system. Okay.
But here's the thing:
now,
it doesn't do that. It doesn't do what you're saying.
If you just took the density tower and you did not first shake it around and just dropped it, what you did at freefall, it would keep the same.
No, it doesn't. That's the point.
It does. Maybe you've never watched any.
I have. That's the thing. As soon as you let it go and it's in free fall, that density arrangement no longer exists.
It stays the same, Craig.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
That's the whole point of the vomit comet experiment. And he doesn't shake it. He just holds it there. And as soon as they go into their parabolic dive and G is countered, the density tower no longer exists. If you hold a density tower in your hand and you let it go, hold on, let me finish. If you're holding a density tower in your hand and you let it go, as soon as you let it go and it accelerates towards the ground, those arrangements aren't there anymore. You can do that experiment yourself.
They only change if you shake it. You know that guy you're talking about? He shaked it before.
No, he didn't. And I've done this experiment myself, and so many other people. You can do it yourself. If you drop it without shaking it, as soon as you drop it, they just all mix up because there's no overriding force creating it. This is something you are simply wrong about, Flatzoid.
Okay.
As soon as it's in free fall.
I'm not wrong.
No, hold on.
Craig,
you are wrong. Hold on.
Right
as soon as it's in free fall.
You know how I'm going to show you this?
As soon as it's in free fall, the density mixes up. It no longer has its arrangement.
No.
This is a fact.
Can you please bring that video up with that guy in the density tower in the vomit comet for us?
Yeah, but we're not talking about that specifically right now.
No, you made a claim that he didn't shake it.
Well, no, he doesn't.
Changes the.
Say shake it.
Okay, and it mixes it up when it's in free fall. So please show us.
Yeah, the second they go into free fall, it disappears. He doesn't shake it up. Right, let me just bring up the video 1 second. But then there's a follow-on question from this, which is the most important question. And we'll get to that in a sec. Thank you for the super chats, guys. And yeah, I know I said the wrong thing. I meant to say that force is the vector and density is the scalar. I said it the wrong way around. Come on, why is... Sorry, my computer has gone slow all of a sudden. There you are. Display 1. Okay. We'll make this big. That's what she said. So here we get to the point where he goes, okay, so come on, play. My internet seems to be going very slowly and won't actually play it.
Seems to
Right,
be
no,
mixed.
this is the wrong video. That's
Oh,
why. Well,
so
he's doing
mixing
that
it.
to show at that point. Let me get you the right one. This is ones that have been edited by flat earthers, so I need to find the actual one that's not been edited by a flat earther. Does he show the whole thing? No, well, that's again one edited by a flat earther. Interesting that the ones that are showing are now the ones edited by a flat earther. I did have this stored. Again, that's one edited by a flat earther.
Interesting.
I can't seem to find the original video right now, which is actually the opposite of what we normally see, isn't it?
Can I just quickly say my 2 super chats because before I
Yeah,
forget,
go ahead. If anyone's got the link
thanks.
to the original video of that, can they please send it to me? Because the only ones I can find are ones edited by flat earthers. What the hell?
Tony Whitcomb, thank you for your £10 super chat. He says, Craig, will everything you drop in Atmo go down no matter what you have in your hand?
No.
Sorry?
No.
No.
No, absolutely not. Because other
Okay,
forces
so it's
exist.
again. Okay, and Skeptic926, thank you very much. He says $20 super chat channel support. Thank you very, very much, mate. I really appreciate all the support.
Guys watching on Flatzoid's
You guys
channel,
rock.
even though Flatzoid and I clearly disagree about a lot, right? One thing that I've noticed is that Flatzoid has put a hell of a lot of effort into his channel. He struggles with power and shit going out all the time, but he still tries to do his daily streams. And even though I disagree with pretty much everything the guy says, right, I have to respect the grind that he's putting in. And if you guys are watching his channel, and every day you're coming, the best thing that you can do for Flatzoid is support him to keep his channel going. Just a £2 super chat here or there, and it will, I don't want to see his channel disappear because I enjoy these conversations. And the best way to keep his channel here and keep him doing this is for you guys that watch it, you flat earthers, to support him with super chats.
Oh, thank you very much, Craig. But like I said, me and Craig, at least, we do. Actually, he's a nice guy behind scenes. This is more of the act. So, yeah.
But
No,
I'm a
thanks,
YouTuber
Craig.
as well.
really
I
appreciate it.
understand the effort that goes into it, and you do your daily shows, and that takes a lot of with what you go through. That takes a modicum of respect, and the people that are watching you, they need to give you that support so that you can keep doing it. But
Well,
right,
I appreciate you. Appreciate
no
you.
worries.
Your shout out. Thanks.
I honestly can't find that original video. All right, so
Okay.
can we
No, that's
go
fine.
back to
That's
that
fine. We
one,
could- but
right?
yeah, then I'm going to say, have you seen the one Rachie does and Dal did?
No, I haven't. Please link those to me. Right.
Yeah,
But-
they also did it and it did not mix.
They what? Sorry.
They also let it fall at free fall and they did not mix.
Well, the one I saw Rachie do did mix.
Even
when she's
Mortimer,
dropping it.
81, it also didn't mix.
He's definitely mixed. Right. Okay, but this moves to the next question, right? So, without dropping it, will a density tower always arrange itself that way? From if it the density tower is there, and it will always be from the bottom where it's denser. As you go up, it's less dense, right? Is would you say that's correct?
Yeah, relative to its reference, correct? Yeah.
Lou Brew, right? Don't get me wrong, okay? I'm not supporting Flatzoid. I'm not giving him money. I'm not telling you guys to give him money. I'm telling his flat earthers that are watching him to give him money, because if they want, I think some people will get confused and like, I wouldn't go to you guys and say go and support Flatzoid because you're my supporters, but his supporters, which he has a relative amount of, they should support him. It doesn't matter if I disagree with what he says.
And you guys, and I say ditto. Yeah, guys, support Craig as well. I mean, he's also a YouTuber. It is his
Yeah.
job, so I would also say
Yeah,
that.
I'm not saying that I chuck super chats at him, and I wouldn't expect you guys to. I was specifically talking to the flat earthers that support him there, right? You know, if you're watching something, whether you should support it. It's just, that's how it is. We might not agree with it, but there's people out, just like you're getting entertainment from watching me, they're getting entertainment from watching him, so they should support it if they want to see it keep going. Right, but
Craig, so this chat we're having is on relative density spectrum. The next one we're gonna have on gravity of the globe, correct?
yeah, I mean, I wanted to kind of get round to that, but I wanted to kind of just get your position down first so that I can correctly give my argument to it. And this is getting to the
wait, Rachel's got a point. So she says you did support me. You became a member. So thank you very much.
Yeah, that's the free YouTube thing that I get each month. I thought, well, we're doing this weekly thing together, so I'll give you the free thing that I give you.
So yeah.
Yeah. So with the density tower, what happens if, for instance, you were to put it and have it sideways and start spinning it around in a circle? What's going to happen to the density tower then?
It has centrifugal forces to it and centripetal forces.
Yeah.
So it's going to mix the densities to the edges. Like a bucket, when you swing it around,
so
water goes to the edge.
Yeah.
But that's
right.
not that's a false equivalence to. That's a false equivalence to
what
I
haven't finished yet.
Does
so
with a up and down vector.
Right. So if it's in it's spinning, it's got centrifugal force. The density towers will arrange itself with the densest stuff towards the outside and the least dense stuff towards the middle, right? The density tower is still going to be there, but it's going to be sideways. And
if it spins long enough, yeah.
Yeah, and it's doing that because why?
Because it's forcing itself to the edges. That's how it works. It's got a
So there's a force being applied to it. Yep.
Just like when you get on a merry-go-round, you have a fictitious force which makes you feel like you're going to be flung off.
Yeah, right. So there's a force being applied to it. That's my point, right? So as it's spinning, there is a force being applied to it, which in that circumstance makes the density tower arrange itself sideways. So the density tower is in that arrangement because there's a centrifugal force being applied to it, right?
On that equivalence, yeah.
Yep. So we can agree that in that circumstance, the reason for the density tower is the force, the centrifugal force, acting on everything in that density tower. There's a force acting in the direction outwards, which means that it arranges itself in that direction, right?
Yeah, and you do know to have a fictitious force, you need an actual force present first.
Well, which part is the actual force?
Them spinning the merry-go-round or spinning that.
That's not a force.
Density tower. You have to have a force to cause the acceleration to spin.
Yeah, well, I mean, something is making that thing spin.
You need an actual force.
Yeah, there's something that's
actual
making it spin.
Actual force gives rise to a fictitious force. That's how it works.
No one's disagreeing with that. The spin of the instrument that it's in is causing a centrifugal force, an acceleration that's acting on the mass in the density tower and making it arrange in that particular direction. So because there's a force acting on it, that's the direction it arranges. So are you saying that? But wait. So are you saying that the physics of how it arranges is different compared to which direction it's going?
No, that's a false equivalence.
I don't see how.
Centrifugal force is totally different to a pressure force.
A pressure force. Could you define a pressure force?
The object is forcing itself through the medium.
Could you give me a citation for pressure force? Could you show me what that is? Maybe there's a mathematical explanation.
It's forcing itself on through the medium. The medium cannot support it as it's forcing itself through.
Yeah, so something is, the centrifugal force is pushing each of those things towards the denser medium, but they can't go through the things, right? So we agree it's the force acting on those things, pushing them outwards, but the density tower happens because the support at this point is sideways, and it can't go through that thing that's supporting it because it's sideways, because the force is acting on it that way. So in this case, the reason for the density tower is an overarching force acting on the whole thing. But according to you, when the density tower is just sitting there,
Sorry,
it's not the same.
Is centrifugal force a fictitious force or an actual force, Craig?
It's a measurable force that exists.
Fictitious
Depending on the reference frame.
or actual?
But it doesn't. It's an actual force.
No, centrifugal force is a fictitious force.
Yeah, which
It's
is still an
force.
actual force.
No.
Yeah,
There's
I
a
don't
difference
think you
between
really understand what
fictitious-
fictitious means in the sense of forces. Again, this is what I mean with my degree in physics. I understand that, we call the thing, there's other names for fictitious forces, inertial forces, we can call them different things. Fictitious is just because they call it something because it arises in a particular reference frame. Outside a reference frame, it looks like something else. But within a particular reference frame, it's a real thing that exists that is measurable. You can literally measure centrifugal force.
Which has to arise from an actual force. Without an actual force, you cannot have a fictitious force present.
No, again, that's not what a fictitious force is. That's not how it works. A fictitious force isn't something that doesn't
force
exist.
where there's no actual force present, please.
That sentence doesn't make any sense.
It does. Show me a fictitious force that is not there without an actual force present.
Again, that sentence doesn't make any sense. I
Okay,
can't
let me
answer
try
that
and explain
question
this
when
way.
it doesn't make any sense.
If you're on a merry-go-round, it takes actual force to spin the merry-go-round. The fictitious force arises due to the force spinning it. That means it's forcing you off of the platform. That is a fictitious force caused by an actual force. So now
what's the actual force? What is the actual force called?
You saying you do not require the actual force to have a fictitious force. So I'm asking you, can you please show me this?
Can I show you what? So you want, for instance, to have centrifugal acceleration without something initially starting it. Well, that wasn't my claim. That's a straw man of my claim.
No, it's not.
But a centrifugal force...
Said,
no, a centrifugal force is just a force that acts when an object is rotating. It's as simple as that.
Which requires an actual force, a physical force.
No, it requires an acceleration.
Which is caused by an actual force.
I don't think you understand what you're saying there.
I understand exactly what I'm saying.
No, a force... You're saying a force is caused by a force. No, a force is caused by mass and acceleration.
A fictitious force...
A fictitious force is still a force that is
by an
MA.
actual force.
Well, no, because a fictitious force can still be calculated with MA. So you don't calculate a fictitious force by having another force.
Is a fictitious force an actual force, Craig?
In a reference frame, yes.
Centrifugal force is an actual force.
Within the particular reference frame, yes.
No.
Well, yes, it is
think
within a
you should
particular
go over
reference
the
frame.
difference between a fictitious force and
Again,
an actual force, please.
right. Let's not call it a fictitious force. Let's refer to it as an inertial force instead, because that's a better term for it that is used. Okay. So an inertial force is a real force that exists that can be measured within a reference frame.
That first requires an actual force to...
No. A force... You don't calculate a force by having a force.
Fictitious force...
No, let's call it inertial force. Let's call
secondary.
it... When you're doing your physics degree, it's referred to as an inertial force. That's what is the best way to talk about it. Obviously, the word fictitious is confusing you, so let's stick with how it's referred to in
What's
physics.
Inertia, mate?
So,
Inertia?
again, inertia is the energy something has as it's moving. But an inertial force is another word for a fictitious force, right? Do you agree with that? Because that's just a fact.
Okay, so you would agree
do you agree? Do you agree that an inertial force is the same thing as a fictitious force?
Yeah.
Right, okay, so let's just call it an inertial force because obviously the word fictitious is confusing you slightly, all right? So it's an inertial force. And how do you calculate an inertial force? With MA.
No.
You don't calculate an inertial force by using another force. You simply calculate an inertial force by ma.
Okay, so we can agree now then the ball forcing itself through the medium
Balls
is now
can't
an
force
inertial
themselves.
force. Congratulations.
No, balls can't force themselves. There has to be something forcing it. Like in the case of the sideways spinning density tower, the thing that is forcing that ball is the centrifugal force from the
which is an inertial force, correct?
Which is an inertial force. Yes. So that's the centrifugal force. Wait, let me finish. So that is the centrifugal. Wait, hold on. That is the force that is acting on the ball going through the density tower. Okay. So the ball is not the force. The centrifugal force is the force. So all of a sudden, the ball doesn't become the force just because the density tower isn't spinning anymore. Why does the ball magically become the force? Because you just said the ball is forcing its way through. The ball is not a force. There has to be a force acting on the ball, which in the case of the sideways spinning density tower is the centrifugal force. So where is the equal force that is acting on a density tower when it's standing still?
This is the ball, okay?
The ball's not a force. We can agree with that.
Forcing itself.
No, it's not. It's being forced by centrifugal acceleration. The centrifugal force is pushing it. So it's not forcing itself.
Inertial force, then?
Yes, an inertial force.
The ball has inertial force.
No, the ball doesn't have an inertial force. It's being affected by an inertial force. It's being acted on by an inertial force. The ball isn't an inertial force. There is an inertial force pushing that ball.
Is the ball pushing through the medium or not?
No. A force is pushing the ball through the medium. The ball isn't pushing through the medium.
Is the ball pushing through the medium or not?
No, force is pushing the ball through the medium. Yeah, no, the ball isn't. No, the ball isn't creating that pressure
through the medium.
That ball isn't creating the pressure. The centrifugal force acting on the ball is creating that pressure. Right?
And
we just agreed that was the case.
Where did the centrifugal force come from, Craig?
The fact that it's a rotating object.
No, we're talking about a ball falling in mid-air now. Inertial force.
No. Yep. So what is the inertial force acting on the ball? What is the inertial force acting on the ball in the case of it standing still? Okay, because in the case of it spinning, the inertial force is centrifugal. So when it's standing still, what inertial force is acting on that ball that is replacing the centrifugal force from when it is spinning?
Listen,
my coffee is finished.
When you pick up a ball, it hasn't got centrifugal force, okay?
Never said it had, nice straw man.
It has an inertial force when you let it go. I picked it up.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't have an inertial force when you let it go. That's not what an inertial force is. An inertial force is something acting on something.
I forced it.
No, you just said something very wrong. That's not what an inertial force is.
Out of its equilibrium.
Right. You are not an inertial force.
As soon as I let it go, it has a fictitious force.
No,
it forces itself.
Yeah. What is that for? What is that fictitious force? Right, because you just debunked yourself here. You've just debunked yourself here, 100%. Right? Because the fictitious force isn't the ball. Right? The fictitious force, even if I was spinning and I was right. Even if it was spinning and I was the one to hold the ball and let it go into that spinning apparatus, it's nothing to do with me anymore. It's simply the centrifugal force that will push the ball towards the outside. Nothing to do with me. Nothing at all. Right? But the same thing, if I let go of the ball in the air, there is now an inertial force acting on that ball. I'm not the inertial force. The ball isn't the inertial force. There is a force being applied to that ball constantly. Just like a centrifugal force will be applied constantly, there has to be a force applied to the ball constantly to make it accelerate down. The ball isn't the force. The ball is not an inertial force. You are not an inertial force. You are not applying that force over time. Something else is.
So by your own admission then, relative density disequilibrium has a force attributed to it, which gives it an inertial force.
No. It has to have a force. No, I'm saying it has to have a force to make it happen.
Yeah.
Which is what you guys are missing out.
It does. Thank you.
Yeah, so centrifugal force, which is sideways. So the replacement for centrifugal force when it's not sideways would actually be gravity. That is the inertial force
There's no
acting on it
gravity.
in another way.
Gravity.
Well, there is gravity, and I can prove
no.
gravity very easily.
Okay, we're talking now about relative density equilibrium, not gravity, which is anyway not a force. But that's the next.
Gravity creates a
discussion.
force. Right, stop strawmanning me by saying gravity isn't a force, because I don't say gravity is a force, I say gravity creates a force. Okay?
What's gravity then? What?
An
No, we're going
acceleration.
to get to that with the next chat.
Yeah,
On
gravity is an
relative density
acceleration.
equilibrium. But anyway, I can't go on much longer. It's already 11 o'clock.
That's cool. I'm supposed to be talking to Brother Sanchez at some point. What is this?
Awesome.
Ads will run... Why are ads running automatically?
You probably
that
have it
happening
set
to
up.
you?
If you have a when you set up a stream, sometimes there's a box that you click, and then they set up the ads to run automatically during the stream.
Is that a
It
new
sucks.
thing?
I set mine off. Yeah, I set mine off.
Oh, I don't want people... Why would you want ads on a bloody live stream?
You get people that do that.
Guys, if you've seen an ad during this live stream, I thoroughly apologise. Obviously, if you're rewatching it, there will be ads. But if you're live, I don't want ads on a live stream. I'm sorry about that.
It's just when you set
Flatzoid.
it up, there's a
Right.
block at the bottom. When you say monetization, there's a block at the
Yeah.
bottom that says, "Do you want middle ads?" Then they stick it. So just make sure it's deselected though.
Right. So I would love to continue this conversation because we're kind of getting to where I wanted to get with. I think we've got to the point that I wanted, but if you need to finish for now, that's fine, and we can continue on next week. I'm more than happy to have these conversations to just you and I, because I know you weren't too happy with people coming on. I'm more than happy to speak to your guys if you ever want them to come on the chat as well.
Awesome.
But yeah, if you're happy to finish for tonight, we will continue this gravity conversation next week, because I actually have let's actually talk about gravity next week, because I have some extremely good evidence for gravity that I would like to get your opinion on. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
Great.
I appreciate being cordial. You know I think you're a fucking idiot, but hey, that's just how it is. You think the same about me. I appreciate that we can have these conversations. You are better than Nathan Oakley by 1,000,000%. And I know people were a bit shocked with me saying, "Oh, you support Flatzoid," but I don't mean that my guy should support Flatzoid. And I don't like what he does. I think Flat Earth is fucking stupid and it's a grift. But he's got people that watch him, so they should support him, and that's my point. And if you're watching Flatzoid, you should.
I hope there's people watching me.
Yeah, there should be. There's a couple at least. Maybe your mum's watching. I don't know. All right. Well, Keith,
but thanks
you
again.
take care. No worries. Well, can I quickly just check to see if there's any super chats for you?
Questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I remember my first ritual. Ground is.
Yeah, if you guys have any questions for Craig, let me know and I can. Quickly give it to
David
him.
Lee says for $2. You keep saying support it, but support it against what?
The medium.
Yeah, well, I think he means like, what is the thing? The medium's supporting it, but why is it having to support it? Which I think was my point with the centrifugal force.
Why is it having to support it? Because it's floating in the medium.
Okay.
Part of fluid dynamics.
James Hogarth for £5 says, why does adding energy by moving it not matter in a zero gravity environment?
Sorry, say it again.
Why does adding energy by moving it not matter in a zero gravity environment?
First of all, there's no such thing as gravity, so you can't have a zero gravity environment, but you can have a zero net accelerative environment.
Okay. Potential Flatzoid. Just checking that there's no more questions for you. No, I think that's all of them.
I got one for you though.
Yeah, go ahead.
Does Craig know the difference between kinetic and potential energy?
Yes. This now has potential energy. I let it go. It had kinetic energy as it moved.
Cool. And which direction?
Well, in that particular direction, whichever way the force was making it go, which was down.
Cool.
Yeah. But,
Yeah, that's all the questions I think from my side though.
Well, thank you very much, Keith. I will speak to you again next week, and
Awesome.
I'll speak to Dave as well about exactly what I want to
Yeah,
talk
that'd
to
be
you
great.
about, because that could be interesting.
Yeah,
Ta
yeah, I think
take
it'd be
care.
great to have a conversation with Dave.
Speak soon. Bye.
Cheers, have a good.
Oh, guys, I think I shocked you a little with what I was saying there, but I want you to understand that I don't agree with what Flatzoid does, okay? But having Flatzoid make videos is better for the globe Earth than it is for the flat Earth, okay? Having Flatzoid doing constant streams, being as wrong as he is better for us than it is for them, right? I don't want to see Flatzoid's channel disappear. Underneath it all, he's, you know, the mistruths and stuff that he's told, that, you know, I think that comes from an ego place, but underneath it all, he's a relatively nice guy when you compare him to someone like Nathan Oakley, right? And I would rather have him doing videos about the flat Earth than someone like Nathan Oakley, because more people are going to watch him because he's more palatable, and then see how stupid the things that are said are, right? So his fans supporting him is good for us, because he keeps his channel up, which does more harm for the flat Earth than not. Plus, it means that I get to debate him constantly. Hey, Dan, I get your point, right? But here's the thing. Those people that watch the flat Earth, right, they're going to give their super chats to someone. And who would you rather those flat Earth super chats go to? Someone like Nathan Oakley or someone like Flatzoid, right? Because, you know, they do have, his fans, they're going to have disposable income just like a lot of you do, right? And, you know, they're gonna use it. If they're gonna they want to watch Flat Earth. If they're that brainwashed and never gonna stop, then they're gonna watch Flat Earth, and they're gonna give their money to somebody, right? And out of all the Flat Earthers, you know, I would much rather it go to someone like Flatzoid than someone like Nathan Oakley. So encouraging Flatzoid fans to support him is good for us in the long run. And you know, so don't get me wrong. I don't agree with anything Flatzoid says or does, but him being supported by his fans is a good thing for everybody. Yeah, Glober Mum's right. Flatzoid's not that bad compared to others. The Dunning-Kruger is high and can be irritating, right? But, you know, all Flerfs super chats should go to CC. Yeah, I get what you're saying, Dan. It is wobbly ground, right? At the end of the day, I would rather not see any flat earther supported and the whole thing, you know, be wiped from society, right? But that's not going to happen realistically, is it? Okay? Flat Earth is always going to be here, right? And if Flat Earth is going to be here, then you get people like Santos Bonacci and Mikey Smith that are vile, horrific human beings. And you don't want them to get any support. And if Flat Earth is going to be there, then you want the people that are going to support it to not give it to the worst humans that exist. That's how I feel, anyway. Right, super chats. Now, I am supposed to be debating Brother Sanchez tonight. But he has, there we go, 2 p.m. Pacific. What is 2 p.m. Pacific time? Right, so, right. He's going live like right now, so I'm going to finish this up with super chats and then get over to Bro Sanchez. Now, Sanchez wants a call-in show, so everyone is going to be getting the Zoom link. Oh wow, I've got so many. Oh, hey, Space Tomato, thank you. Those are awesome pictures. Ah, there we go. Well, thank you. You all sent me the Density Tower one. Right. Yeah, and I made a flub, and I said that force isn't a vector, and I meant to force isn't a vector, and I meant to say it isn't a scalar. I said it the wrong way. Talking to flat earthers can screw with your head. Bill, if flat Earth went bye-bye, what would I do? I would cover other stupidity and bad science because, unfortunately, stupid is never going to go away. David Lee 199 says relative density disequilibrium is utter horseshite. Yes, it is. Emmanuel Davis $2 says I remember my first beer. Beer, I miss beer. It's got too many calories now. I'm trying to lose weight. RT96 $2 says just wait until we get to division, folks. Division? He couldn't do basic addition. No, it's not increasing the mass. There's twice of it. It's increasing the mass. Dave McKeegan for £2 says so he reduced the pressure by 11 frames. David Lee $5. The specific gravity of a substance is simply the ratio of its density to the density of water at 4 degrees C. Not sure what Flatzoid thinks it is. Yeah, well, because he talks about it being a ratio of the object's density to the pressure it creates, that's almost similar to specific gravity. But, right, the thing is, right, I tried very hard to steelman him there. And I struggled. Because his arguments make no fucking sense. Oh, don't worry, I'll have a smoke in a minute. David Eve $2 says, and he needs to unblock me. Hit him up on Discord. He might. You know, he can be all right to talk to. He's a dumb fucker. You know, and there's been some dishonest things done in the past. Although I kind of have some things to say about the 11 frames, which may not be popular. But I'm going to leave that for a different stream. Pat in the chat for $2 says, why down? Magic, I guess. David Lee for $2 say, for fuck's sake, support against what? Janos Takos 1024 Huffs says, remember the two maidens in the Lonely Cup? All flat earth proof amounts to what can be found in that cup. James Hogarth for £5 says, why does adding energy by moving it not matter in a zero gravity environment? Flatzoid's position only has any value when gravity is present. But he doesn't believe in gravity, so saying it is a straw man. David Eve $2 says, can you turn your mic down? Yep, sorry, I had it loud. My bad, excuse me. Design Song 1 for $5 says, for Christ's sake, make a vector diagram for weight in space sitting on a table and falling from a shelf for the con man. Right. I think there's a difference between being a con man and just being aggressively stupid. Tim, right, and it's the old thing of, you know, never attribute to malice what can be attributed to stupidity, right? And maybe the dishonest stuff that Flatzoid's done in 11 frames and that stems from, you know, stupidity. But we'll see. It's going to be an ongoing story. Tim Davidson, $5. If an apple grows on a tree, its balance is on the limb. Once the twig breaks, why does it not seek its equilibrium? I asked that question before. They said, as the tree grows, it's giving it the force. The Lovebot for $4.99 says, Flatzoid keeps saying the same things over and over with zero information. Flip him over to side B. There might be something. Refresh. Yep, hamsters died. I just had to replace one. Sorry about that. Jimmy G for $6.99 Canadian says, Flatzoid, please pick up Mr. Feather and ask it how buildings are made. Thanks. Esteban Ibaka for 2,750 claps. That was 2,750. You just didn't see. If he buries the chamber and places the feather below the surface, where will it go? Oh! That's one thing I meant to ask him. Bugger. Thank you. Yeah, if it's the energy you've given it, what happens if you dig a hole and it goes further? Where'd that extra energy come from? Tim Davidson for $5 say, we understand what you are saying and we understand why you're wrong. That's why it doesn't make sense. Yeah, because physics says no. Stefan the Mud for 100 Nokias. You guys, I fucking love you. If Flatzoid is given the ball the force to accelerate downward, will it stop at the elevation he picked it up if you move it to the edge of the cliff and let it go? No. Because magic isn't a thing. Honestly, the support, guys. Thank Rachbot, member for 40 months. That's like so long. I may have had a hairline back then. Says, does Flatzoid think that F equals M? No, he thinks that F equals F or something. I don't know. Traveller X gifted a membership. If you became a member and you didn't buy it, say thank you to Traveller X. Janos Takas for another 1,024 huffs. Says, Craig, you're wrong. Force is a vector, mass is a scalar. Yeah, I said the wrong thing because flat earthers get my brain flustered sometimes. Thank you. Natasha the Red for £5 says, why do things fall in a vacuum with the downity force used as the medium? Why do things still have a weight on a set of scale in a vacuum chamber? Magic. Bill Tetley for $5 says, Failsoid has just surpassed Dunning-Kruger and gone on to the king of Dunning-Herper. Good job, Flat. You reached a new level of derp. Jake the Surgeon for $10 says, I'm functionally illiterate when it comes to physics and even I know the basic idea of why things fall. Why do Flerfs reject more aspects of reality than creationists? Because the only way the Earth can be flat is if you reject reality. MB for £2 says, show us Failzoid. He never could. 3-1 for $5. Technically, even when the glass or ball is sitting on the ground, they're still accelerating. The ground is just in the way. Yeah, I know. That would have gone a bit... Stanley Tools for $2 says, here's @dollars, give Flatzoid $1. No, we don't support Flatzoid. All right? We let them do that. William Foley for $19.99 US. Honestly, guys, thank you so much. Flatzoid, why is there a down and what causes it? Yeah, he failed to answer that several times. Design Song 1 for $5. If the 20-pound rock were sitting on the ground in equilibrium and the ground opened beneath it, why would it move? Calculate the force needed to stop it. Calculate? He couldn't do basic addition. Bill Tetley, $5. Fight the flat shirt, you sexy beast. Good job on this one. Keep up the work, and I'm looking forward to the Bro Sanchez debate. It's going to be rough, guys. Horace Spugflutty for $9.99. I love that name. Thank you. Tell Flatty he reminds me of my drunk brother-in-law thinking he's smart. Bill Tetley, $2. With sad face, he actually did say something, and I forgot what it was. Where are you, Bill? It says, my last super chat was supposed to have, if Flat Earth go bye-bye, what do you do, Craig? Yeah, just do cover other stupid, because there's always plenty. MB, 2 months. Member B says, costing a bloody fortune in facepalm protection. No, sorry, not sorry. Gary IOW for £10 says, have a small blaze on me, man. Thank you very much. I'm gonna in between shows. MB for £2 says, there's always going to be idiocy to debunk. Ain't that the fucking truth? Paul Kamish, £4.99 says, drink JD and Coke Zero, low calories. No fizzy drinks ever again. I'm done with fizzy drinks. It's changed my brain chemistry. Just drink JD neat. Mike Mitchell Fit for $5 says, why don't you compare the bowling ball to the feather in the vacuum chamber? Both are fall at the same rate. Wonder what his rebuttal was on that. It would hurt your brain. And then for $2, for £2 says, for €2. Well, thank you very much. Bill Tetley, $4.20 says, and another blaze on me too. Well, thank you very much, guys. You know I very much appreciate it. Honestly, the support I can never say thank you enough for. Yeah, you will make me cry if you carry on like this once again. But I will see you all very, very soon. Remember that stupidity is not a right. Fight the flat earth.
Fight the flat. Fight the flat. Fight the flat. Fight the flat. Fight the flat.